American Civil War. Friends, today America is known worldwide as one of the most developed countries and a superpower. Every small or big incident there attracts the attention of people around the world. But did you know that at one time the very existence of this country, known as the United States of America, was in danger? The identity of the United States was questioned. A civil war had begun within the country. Civil war means a war fought between two groups within a country. This war can also be called an interest rate war because it is confined within a country's internal boundaries. Controlling a region of the country means protesting against the government's policies. A similar civil war took place in America. The American Civil War lasted from 1861 to 1865. It took place between the northern states and the southern states. These states wanted to separate from the United States of America and form a separate nation, the Confederate States of America. This war had a profound impact on American society and its political conditions. It had a profound impact on the American people. Furthermore, this civil war can be seen as America's most horrific tragedy, as 620,000 American soldiers lost their lives. This number was equivalent to 2% of America's population in 1861. What were the reasons that led to this civil war? Let's explore the reasons behind the American Civil War. The main causes of the American Civil War were the widespread slavery system in America and the division between the two parts of the American Union, the North and the South. These two regions were also interconnected. How did this happen? By the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution had taken place in America, completely transforming it. However, there was an imitation of this revolution, and that was the Industrial Revolution. Its effects remained confined to the northern American states. Its impact was also visible in the southern states. Here, as before, agriculture remained the dominant occupation. Therefore, this region was significantly backward compared to the northern states. In the 18th century, cash crops like cotton and oats were cultivated extensively. These crops fell under the category of labor-intensive crops. Slave labor was used as agricultural labor in the southern states. Slave labor made agriculture profitable here. Meanwhile, the westward expansion of American territories began, and southern states' leaders wanted to expand the slavery system in the newly formed western states. They argued that slavery should remain legislated in these western territories, but North American leaders did not want this at all. Northern states were opposing the slavery system, and this led to increasing conflict between these two regions. To stop the expansion of the slavery system and to protest their rights, African Americans, along with some activists, started anti-slavery movements in some parts of the American Union in 1830. This movement led to a conflict in the northern and western states. There were many protests against slavery, and slavery was abolished there by supporting the movement. However, if we talk about the southern states, the anti-slavery movement was not very successful there. The reason behind this was that the economy of these states was completely dependent on slaves, and the end of slavery would have ruined it. Therefore, anti-slavery imports were not available here. To avoid facing such a situation, the leaders of the southern states passed the Anti-Nebraska Act in 1854. Under this act, slavery and its practice were declared legal. This act was strongly opposed by the members of the anti-slavery movement. Due to this act, there was a lot of violence between those who supported slavery, i.e. the Bruce Liver Group, and those who opposed slavery, i.e. the Prohibition Group. This violence is also known as the Bleeding Cancels, and this is the main reason due to which the slavery story started the American Civil War. Sometime after this violence, Cancer, Nebraska came to oppose the act. For this, a new political party was formed whose name was Republican Party, and this party had only one aim, and that was to completely eliminate slavery from America. In the November 1860 elections, the leader of this political party, Abraham Lincoln, was elected President of the United States of America. Abraham Lincoln had promised to end slavery in his election campaign. Now, with his becoming president, the House of Representatives of the United States, there was a fear that he would definitely fulfill his election promise and abolish slavery. This could completely ruin the economy of the southern states. And for this reason, the southern states wanted to separate themselves from the Union as soon as possible and wanted to create their own independent nation where no rules and regulations made by the American president would be followed. And they did just that. Within about 3 months of Abraham Lincoln becoming president, the Southern states separated themselves from the United States of America and created the independent state Confederate States of America. With this, the American Union was divided into two parts. Seeing the American Union being divided into two parts was very disappointing for Abraham Lincoln. He wanted to maintain the American Union at any cost. And this is why the Civil War started in America, where on one side there was the Union Army and on the other side there were the Confederate and Southern states. Now let's look at all the important events of this war in detail. Events in the American Civil War. Friends, when did the Civil War begin? When did the newly formed Union Army oppose the American Union? The Confederate States of America attacked Fort Seaman in Charleston, Northern Virginia. After this attack, President Abraham Lincoln ordered the Union Army to defend Fort Sumter. However, the Union Army failed to achieve this goal, and on April 13, 1861, the Confederate States captured Fort Sumter. Influenced by this spectacular victory, the other states, Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee, also joined the Confederate States. This marked the beginning of the Civil War's first battle, also known as the First Battle of Ball's Run. This battle began on July 21, 1861. The Confederate Army was led by Thompson Jonathan Stonewall Jackson, and the Union Army remained on the back foot in this battle. Many of their soldiers lost their lives. By this battle, both sides had realized that this war would be a long-drawn one. Therefore, both sides began large-scale mobilization. After the First Battle of Ball's Run, General Winfield Scott, who was the supreme leader of the Union Army, General John F. Kennedy, was replaced and George Ben-Ami was made the leader. The Confederate Army was now led by General Robert E. Lee. The Second Battle of Ball Run began on August 29, 1862. In this second battle, the Confederate Army, led by General John F. Kennedy, won, and the Union Army suffered another defeat. However, even after this defeat, McClellan and his troops refused to give up. Learning from their mistake, they reorganized their army and declared war on the Confederate States on September 14th. The Union Army ultimately won this battle and succeeded in driving the Confederate Army out of Sharpsburg and the surrounding area. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in the American Civil War, the Battle of Sharpsburg. Fought on September 17th, this battle is also known as the most painful and horrific battle of the Civil War. This was because in this battle, 69,000 Union and 79,000 Southern troops were killed. 52,000 Confederate soldiers lost their lives. Despite the loss of so many soldiers, the Union Army won the battle and succeeded in driving the Confederate Army out of Virginia and surrounding areas. However, the end of the Civil War was still not in sight. In such a situation, American President Abraham Lincoln made a decisive move that cleared the way for the war union's victory. Let us know what this proclamation was. The Emancipation Proclamation. Friends, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Under this proclamation, all slaves of the Confederate States were freed. This cleared the way for them to join the Union Army, and they were also encouraged to do so. He completely gained support and strengthened the Union Army. In fact, countries like Britain imported raw materials from the American states, which were crucial for their industries. Therefore, there was a chance that Britain would support the Confederates in the Civil War. However, because Britain was already the United States had already outlawed slavery and could not support it in the international community. Therefore, by issuing the Emancipation Proclamation, Lincoln completely transformed the Civil War into a debate about slavery and anti-slavery, shifting the international community's support to the Union. After this proclamation, approximately 86,000 slave workers were freed and admitted into the Union Army, making the Union Army very strong. The freeing of slaves also devastated the economy of the Confederate States, marking the beginning of the end of the Civil War. The turning point in the Civil War came when Joseph Grant was given command of the strengthened Union Army. He trained the Union Army so well that the Union Army defeated the Confederate Army and captured areas like Tuckalooga in 1863. Impressed by this spectacular victory, Abraham Lincoln appointed him Supreme Commander of the Union Army in 1864. Accepting this title, Grant returned to the House. He launched an invasion of the United States, and the Confederate Army's leader, John B. Lee, launched an attack on the Confederate Army, which was then present in Virginia. the Union Army's offensive was so severe that thousands of Confederate soldiers were killed. Shortly thereafter, Brand and his troops captured Petersville, the most strategic rail center known for trading in the Confederate States. After that, the Union Army gradually captured other parts of the Confederate States, such as Atlanta, South Carolina, Gold Coast, and Citron by 1865. Despite all this, Robert Lee and his Confederate Army were not defeated. They attacked the Union-controlled 4th State on March 25th. This attempt also failed. While attacking the Confederate Army near the Appomattox River, the Union Army surrounded them from all sides. After being defeated, the Confederate Army surrendered to the Union Army, and this surrender movement is considered one of the most important moments in American history. American President Abraham Lincoln could never experience this moment because before this, on April 14th, he was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, a loyalist of the Confederate Army. In such a situation, General Sherman, who belonged to North Carolina, accepted the command of the Confederate Army, and after this Civil War officially ended on April 26, 1865. Now let us know what impact this war had on America later. Impact of American Civil War. After the defeat of the Confederates, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were added to the American Constitution, under which slavery was completely abolished from America, and at the same time, the United States of America was defined as a new nation. According to this new definition, the United States of America is now an indivisible nation by becoming a group of many states which can never be divided. The foundation of America was greatly strengthened by ending the northern and southern divisions. The Civil War had made the southern states strong. After the slavery evolution, industrial growth began in the southern states, which gradually led to prosperity like the northern states. New business entities were established in the southern states. The government also launched numerous programs and subsidies to promote industrial growth in the southern states. As a result, a new wave of prosperity appeared in America, and the inequality between the northern and southern states was significantly reduced. Conclusion. So friends, this was the story of the American Civil War. In this story, we learned how millions of soldiers and President Abraham Lincoln sacrificed their lives to end the strife and unite America. This war, which was fought to protect the rights of slave plantation workers, later took on such a terrible form that no one had imagined. This war not only freed America from slavery, but also laid a new story for America, which today is such an industrialized and technologically advanced country. This war laid the foundation for the entire United States. He made the U.S. strong and united, and also gave a new form to the American Constitution, from which countries like India later took inspiration. What do you think? Was war the only way to protest against slaves in America and the American Union? Was there no other way to solve it? Was the assassination of Abraham Lincoln a powerful force? If this war had not happened and America's problems would have been solved under a peaceful agreement, please share your opinion with us in the comments.